You're listening to Two Guys Talking Wine with Michael Pinkus and Andre Prue.
Michael.
Andre, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too.
I can't believe we made it through 2025.
I know it. It was a year. It was a very long year. It was a good year. It was mostly good.
Yeah. I can't complain too much. The world's going to hell in a handbag, but I mean, what can you do? There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. I've decided to just let it go.
I don't know if I'd say the world's going to hell in a handbag, but like there's always good stuff going on. I got to be positive for this year.
Well, let's hope 2026 is a little bit better than 2025.
You know what would help our year get off to a really good start, though? If we had a couple more of our dedicated, loyal listeners, whom we greatly, greatly appreciate, would open their hearts and their wallets to support us on Patreon.
I would say that would be a wonderful thing to do. And we've actually added some bonuses on Patreon.
Yeah, we're putting our uncut interviews behind the paywall. My very interesting chat with Dr. Don Livermore that aired right before Christmas, talking about the current state of rye whiskey, Canadian whiskey.
And we have the one from Federico Graziani from Sicily. His interview goes well into the 40-minute mark. We only used half of that for the. And then we have ones from French wine producers and Italian wine producers, and so yeah, there's some really good stuff behind that paywall. I'm very happy about it.
And I mean, if you support us, you get access to that. But you know who already has supported us?
Of course, Los Arenjo. You call it? Do you not bring the G together?
No.
Los Arenjo.
No.
It's go.
Yes.
I don't know why. It just sounds very strange. I know I was there, but maybe it's the way they say it in Spanish.
No, even Eeyore has commented, how does Michael not know how to say the name of the tequila?
But how does he know that he's saying it correctly? He doesn't speak Spanish either. So, anyway.
If you're listening to this, you missed out on a great deal. The Los Rango Reposado was on LTO, but it's still a pretty good deal, coming in around $63 at the LCBO.
And I like their tequilas very much.
Yeah.
And we were there. We had a good time. But
Go
also
back and listen to the podcast series. We did a whole 3-part series. I think I've visited quite a few distilleries. Did Kentucky on my honeymoon, which we've talked about way back on this podcast. It's a craft product. Not all spirits are craft products. I mean, it's a cool thing to make, but everything that's happening at that hacienda is tender love and care.
And they, you know what I really loved about that podcast that we did is that when you put it together, because I don't know if everybody knows, Andre's the one who produces the podcasts in that way. All of the sound effects were actually real sound effects. Like the guy chopping in the field, the bottling lines, everything like that was all authentic sound effects.
We call that soundscaping in the biz.
Yeah, so it was really neat the way you had done that. And
so how are we kicking off this year?
So obviously, I thought, Andre, we've got to go back to Italy, just because we were there. And we've done so much Italy last year. I wanted to go back because I have still a few more to go. But today we have 2 special topics and 3 guests. And I'm going to start by welcoming back to the podcast Ofelia Bartolucci, who is spending part of her winter in Canada this year and probably questioning that.
Yeah, Ophelia, just so you know, this is a pretty unusual, dreary winter that we've had. Like, I think the month of December we had snow or rain every day.
Yeah, sorry.
It's not normal.
Wow. Hi, Andre, and I'm Michael. Thank you for having me with this time of the year.
Well, it's lovely to have you back, and as Andre said, we're really sorry about the cold weather. I spent some time in Italy last Christmas, and it was nothing like this. So
I was like on a lark looking up the forecast in Montpellier in the south of France just to be like, okay, like I know that winter comes to Europe, but it's got to be better than here. And I was right. It was like 10 degrees in the middle of the night in Montpellier, and it's just like, why are we here?
Yeah, it really is. So one of the reasons that Ofelia is here is while I was in Italy 2 years ago, Ofelia suggested we go to Summa. And I was like, what the hell is Summa? Then at the Mark Anthony tasting later in that year, I met Christian Pizzetta from the winery that hosts Summa, and he invited me to Summa. So I'm like, okay, Ofelia, let's go.
Who met Christian first? Was it me or you?
I have no idea, but I mean, I've met him before, and he's invited me to Summa a number of times. So
yeah, so Summa takes place in Alto Adige.
It does.
But when I was there, that's not what was going on. I was there for an anteprima.
Correct. And I have also been there for an anteprima also. I had not been to Summa, and I had heard of Summa before. So the question is I also asked Ofelia. I said, what's this Summa? Well, and she gave me this meaning. So if you'd like to tell us what your understanding of Summa was before we play where they get the name from.
Well, the thing, it's a wonderful festival format to start with, but the meaning of Summa, it's a Latin terms, and it means the highest part, like the zenith or something. And it also means the sum, like 1 + 1 is 2. And this is the sum of it. And, but, you can have like a lot of meanings, but this is the one that comes from the Latin.
So I was really impressed. I'm like, oh, it comes from the Latin. That's a high concept wine. And then I talked to, play the clip.
Summa, the idea of my father in the 90s was that he was impressed by the fact that at that time Vinexpo was very strong in Bordeaux. And at that time, every chateau around the Vinexpo created their own little fair around the Vinexpo to attract even more people during this time to come to France. More wine people, wine lovers, people from the wine business and sommeliers. And so the idea was actually a little bit the same, to do something or create Summa as a complementary wine fair during Vinitaly. So bringing more people during this time of the year to Italy. And so 25 or even more so years later, we're still here and having now over 1,300 people per day, which is quite a lot, and good people from all over the world, from the wine business, from the wine sector, gastronomy, sommeliers, importers, distributors, journalists.
So that was the voice of Clemens Lageder from Alois Lageder Winery in Alto Adige. Now, you had mentioned it's a place we've both visited.
It's a really cool place.
It's in the north of Italy. Of course, I asked Clemens what Summa meant and how they came up with the name. And in the back of my head, I have Ofelia telling me about the Latin and the sum of the parts and the zenith. And this is what he said.
Summa actually comes from opera from Berg, and my parents actually got the name, or were sitting in the opera and reflecting about this name from this opera, which was called Summa, and they very much liked it because in a certain way it's defining a little bit this reuniting wineries from all over the world with a similar shared philosophy and shared values, and that's why we used Summa as a wording or as a term for our event.
But Summa is more than just a wine event, and that was what was really cool about it. Ofelia and I benefited from this event because we interviewed so many amazing wine people. We mentioned Federico Graziani, Ronnie Weber of Bilkart Salmon. We also have coming up this year my interview with Ludovic from Von Nieberg Wines in Bordeaux. And those are coming up in the near future. And you know what? Just play the next.
Now it's the 26th edition of Summa, and the idea about it before was always a bringing together of like-minded people. And I think Summa brings with it such an incredible energy and atmosphere. It's very familiar. There is no arrogance. There is no that showing off. And so it's you come together with old faces, new faces, but in an environment where wine is still something social. Wine is still something that is fun. I mean, we're producing not something that you need to survive. So it's as a product that's supposed to, be a fun and enjoyable product. So I think it's for sure the coming together where alcohol is not yet banned, and we're not talking about campaigns against alcohol and health. So it's really the enjoyment. It's I think, incredible atmosphere to come together as well with people that are more towards sustainability, organic, biodynamic, a similar approach as well to winemaking.
How many wineries do you have here?
112 this year.
And is that usual? Do you remember?
We started off with 1 ourselves, then 5, then 10, then 15. Now we are around 115 each year. We don't want to grow, otherwise it'll be the next Vinitaly. Also, I mean, you see the spaces here. They're old buildings from the 13th and 15th century, so we can't kind of biggin them up in a way. So it will be always around that big part, which is a core Summa team of producers that have been part, Böcklin and Wolf has been part of it since 2000, which is a long time. And so we take care of old relationships, but also we cherish new partnerships, new partners coming in, new producers coming in. And they all have to be, however, the new ones have to be certified organic at least. And also that the producers are present themselves when they come to Summa. So the winemaker or the owner has to be here.
So that was the voice of Helena Lageder, Clemens' sister, and someone with a very interesting past about how she comes back to the winery, because all the siblings end up at some point leaving and then coming back to the winery.
So our parents actually always kind of motivated us to go out and kind of follow our own vision, dreams, interests. And so all 3 of us actually, Clemens, Anna and I, we all left and we did something else. We studied something else. And Clemens, I think, was the first one coming back with the interest towards wine. But I think it was a good reverse psychology, because we all came back knocking on the door, and now all 3 of us work in the winery, for the winery. And I was in film for 10 years. I kind of followed more my mom's path, because she's quite creative as well in dance, theatre. And I loved film. I think it was a great adventure for 10 years. However, I tried it all. I went from producing, directing, cinematography, sound. At the end, I worked for a casting director. I lived in London, New York, back in London, Munich, Berlin. And it's kind of, I think, something about the region, about our family, about that pulls you back. And I was always looking for something else in the film industry. So I was always looking at a new job, a new experience. And in a way, it never felt settled. So for me, I think the job that I'm doing now fulfills me completely, because I can follow a lot of my interests, which is for sure hospitality. It's a big one. The social part, you travel a lot, different cultures, different people. You get to wine is a social, or brings together, definitely marketing, communication, we've got a lot of creativity in there, so we do a lot of different projects throughout the year. And so actually it's something that called me back, and I didn't really hesitate to come back. And now it's Clemens and I who do it together. My sister organizes Summa, but Clemens and I kind of in different roles to the winery.
It's the call of the vines.
It's the call of the vines, exactly, yeah.
These are some cool cats that you've been interviewing. I took a moment while she was speaking to pull up her IMDb page. Yeah. Like, she said she worked in film. I'm like, okay, like what films did she work on? She was in the production department for Red Sparrow. So like, she worked on some like legitimate Hollywood movies. It's too bad the movie wasn't better, but
I like Red Sparrow. I thought that was a grert film.
Michael, we all know that you have questionable taste.
Well,
thank you, Ofelia.
But Ofelia, you and I were there.
Yeah.
This was your second time at Summa. Obviously, you liked it enough to go back a second time.
Yes.
What was the draw to go back to Summa? Like you said, now we have to go to Summa. What was that draw that made you want to go back?
Because on that fair, there's nothing banal. I mean, it's not like really going to Venitaly or something else. I mean, the location is amazing. People are really nice. And even if you might taste the same wines, which is not true, because they have like the same producer and they change some of them. There is a kind of rotation. There are a lot of workshop, and I mean, every time you go, you have like the idea that you're learning more, and you feel good. Apart from the wine, I mean, the place is amazing, and people really amazing, and you learn a lot. And if you have like to meet also people that come from the trade, it's a kind of good spot to find them.
Like it was really neat because they have two distinct locations where it takes place. There's like the main winery, and then there's like a second. They take over this whole village. Like they kind of own the village.
Which village is it?
Magre is, I think, where it is. But
Yes.
Is that the name of the village
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
So it is Magre.
Cool.
And they basically, it's a tiny little village, and you literally they have about 75 wineries in one location. Then you leave, you walk down the street, you see people on the street. They got their glasses, they're talking, they're laughing. And then you get to the next location, and there's another 75 wineries there as well. And you go, upstairs. As she said, they're buildings from the 13th and 14th centuries, so they're really old buildings. And it was really funny because what ended up happening is as we were walking down the street, we bumped into Alois Lageder, actual Mr. Lageder.
Oh, the guy whose name is on the bottle.
Correct. I didn't have my recorder out at the time because I was thinking, what's the chance I'm going to bump into Alois Lageder? But I did get some clips about what is Alois Lageder.
Mm-hmm. So we're a winery that was founded 200 years ago, family winery, and my great-great-great-grandfather founded the winery in 1823. And we love making wines that are reflecting his alpine, precise character, full of tension. We are in the Alps, we're in the Dolomites, and so we want to also reflect this character in a certain way and bring this character to the bottle. We do work biodynamically since 20 years. In 2004, we started to convert all our own vineyards to biodynamics, and we have also 65 partners who we collaborate with. And now finally, since 2024, we have all these farmers converted and certified biodynamic and organic. So here in Alto Adige, we are from 250 till 1,300 meters, so a completely different terroir on 1,300 meters, of course. And we, in our family winery, we are from making wines or planting vines from 250 till 1,000. So 1,000 is our maximum, where we have Riesling, Müller-Thurgau, and a little bit of Pinot Noir as well. We have, so our major or most important grape varieties are Chardonnay, Pinot Bianco, Pinot Grigio, Gewürztraminer, Pinot Noir, Merlot. I would say those 5 for sure. But then we have to deal also with climate change, and we are lucky that my father in the 80s started to get interested in climate change already, planting Assyrtiko from Greece, Viognier from France, Tanat from France. And so we have actually more than 30 grape varieties we play with, and I think it's also interesting to experiment and to see which grape varieties could be here also in the future, because already 100 years ago, here we are here now on 250 meters. This was 100 years ago the place for Riesling. Now Riesling you find on 600-700 meters. So there was already a shift in the last 100 years. Now, of course, with the climate change, which will be a little bit more radical, this shift will be even faster. So I think we have now our major grape varieties, but we need to think outside the box as well and to think, okay, which grape varieties we might be able to plant there where we have today maybe Pinot Grigio. In the future we might have maybe a red grape variety. So we need to also develop our ideas about grape varieties as well a little bit.
I still just find the diversity of varieties that are able to be grown at such high quality in Alto Adige to be something that's quite remarkable. It almost felt a little Niagara-esque, but I think the geography, obviously, I think makes it a little easier for them to have, the Bordeaux variety reds planted at the foothills of the Dolomites, where you get the full midday sun as the sun passes over and going higher up. But I mean, the thing that's cool about Alto Adige is when you're talking about the cool climate varieties like Sauvignon Blanc, which I loved from some of the producers that I taste there, this isn't like a Californian situation where the Sauvignon Blanc has a distinct flavor profile. Expect lower acid, expect more tropical. Like, they're doing the cool climate varieties.
And they're doing it in
doing them
way.
well.
Yeah.
And at the same time, in the exact same place, literally a few kilometers away, depending on how far you are from the foothills, doing warm climate varieties as well in their own way as well.
Well, as we'll learn a little bit later, they have between 25 and 30 varietals. Some indigenous,
which makes sense.
some non-indigenous.
But it's cool though, because if we talked about a grape grower in Ontario that had 30 varieties, you and I would both be like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like there is no 30 varieties that would do well every vintage in Ontario. And the point that I'm making is that Alto Adige is like such a weird, wonderful place that they can grow 30 varieties well.
So, obviously he mentioned your favorite grape, Andre. Oh,
I have to put a quick asterisk behind this though, because this is something I seek out for everyone. My favorite wine that I tasted in Alto Adige was not the Chardonnay. I fell truly, madly, deeply in love with Pinot Bianco.
No, Pinot Bianco is lovely when made well. And they do it so
a little bit of oak, a lot of texture. I mean, I loved it because it tastes a little like Chardonnay, but...
But he did mention Chardonnay. I talked to the winery. We have 4 wines to taste during this podcast. And
what do you mean I had my Andre moment? I'm reading your script.
Just wait there. I have to explain that one. But I first want to talk about this. This is the 2022, I call it Lowengang Chardonnay. When you hear them say it.
Is it like Lowengang?
I have no idea how to pronounce it. I like Lowengang. It sounds, very, I don't know, gang aficionado way. But, you tasted this and immediately went, this is a banger.
Oh, this is a complete banger of a Chardonnay. Lots of depth, lots of texture. It's like a symphony on the palate. Like, it's pulling out like the cool climate, tasting notes I expect from well-made Chardonnay. Like, it's got golden delicious.
Obviously barrel aged. So,
but the oak influence is so well integrated. Like, I would suspect maybe 10% new oak, if that.
I think it's a little bit more. This is their single vineyard,
and if it is more, it is so well integrated that, like, for me, my mind didn't even go to the oak aging. My mind went straight to the orchard fruit. It's like fresh pear. It's fresh ripe pear, where I think a lot of Niagara stuff is a little bit more of the crunchy pear. This is like when that pear gets, nice and soft, like right before it turns to mush. It's got the golden delicious apple off the front, but it's very well buried under a broader texture. Like, I don't even know if there's lees contact to this. Like, they may have just let it sit, but it's got a really broad texture on the back palate. And then it's got a long finish, but still with clean acid on the back.
If your eyes are better than mine, they're
you're looking for the oak aging?
I'm trying to figure that out. But
they actually don't say anything about oak on the back.
No,
I didn't think they would.
No, but this oak.
What is your thought on this?
It's super balanced. It's one of the nicest wines that they have, and everybody falls in love with this.
Yeah,
so,
this is one of their flagship wines that they just do so well.
Yeah, this is this is a hard 4.5 star for me.
I'd give 4+, but yeah, I'm in your ballpark. So really like this wine. And as I said, we have three more to go, all from the 2022 vintage. Now, I'm gonna move this along with a confession that I did have my Andre moment with.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Next question.
I get a feeling that you're making fun of me.
I am making fun of you.
Okay,
because I was asking about grape varieties they wish they made and or made more of, and well, I'm gonna skip the answer completely. I'm gonna make those who want to hear about it go to Patreon, give us a few dollars, listen to it, because I think the question I asked was about 2 minutes long. Like, I just could not bring the question home. And even Ofelia was looking at me going...
You just have this moment where it's just like the floodgate of information coming in. I had those moments in Alto Adige as well, though. Like I said, like just when you look at the possibilities of what they can do there.
So, so I had, again, my Andre moment, and I remember saying to Ofelia at the time, I said I just had an Andre moment where I just could not shut up. And they were really nice. They looked at me and they did answer. So instead, what I end up with here talking about is their top 3 varieties, because we have just finished talking about how many varieties they do. So here are the top 3 varieties that they see they make.
I mean, Löwengang Chardonnay has been since 1984 our most important label, and that's still going strong, which is nice, but also it's a smaller production. I think Pora Pinot Grigio, like the way it's done today, it's more of a name because of the way we vinify it. No, we play around with whole grape contact, with skin contact because of climate change as well, and kind of to heighten the perception of freshness, get a little bit more structure and fruit out. So I think Pora Pinot Grigio is something that now is for sure more acceptable than probably 10 years, or understood, not acceptable, than maybe 15 years ago when we started out with Pora. Brand-wise, I think Crafos Pinot Noir as well. I think we've got great conditions in Alto Adige for Pinot Noir, those higher elevations, hot days, cool nights, cooler nights, not anymore as cool. But yeah, these I would say are the 3.
And so it's funny that Helena should mention Crafos because Clemens also mentioned Crafos. And when I asked him what wines, I always do that, what wines would you pour now? Here's what he said.
I like Löwengang Chardonnay 2020 vintage. So we are now selling 22 vintage, which is lovely as well, but I'm a big fan of 2020 vintage now of Löwengang Chardonnay, how it's presenting now. So if I would pick a wine that we would drink right now, I would pick that.
Okay, so that's something from a cellar.
That's
somebody has it in their cellar. Things you're selling
right now.
Something you're selling right now that somebody's got to pick up. It's Scava, Lagrange, Riesling, Pinot Gris. Which?
And then I would go to Pinot Noir, Crafos, 22 vintage, which is I think you open a bottle and it already immediately covers you with its flavors. It's triggering. It's how you say it makes you wanting another glass.
Did he listen to? He used the word ultimate.
Did he?
And then he also said at the end of that, it made him want a second glass. It's almost as if he listened to our ultimate wine championship.
No, he wouldn't have, because we hadn't done it yet.
I know it. It's like, and the thing is, I've never heard these clips before, so it's almost as if, whoa.
I believe that they had done their research, because both of them had said things about our podcast. So, and it just so happens that we have that 2022 Crafos in the glass right now that he's talking about. So Helena says this is like one of their core wines that they have. Clement said this is the wine, if he was going to impress the Helena, that he would pour for you right now. Ofelia, I'm going to turn to you first. Is this something that would impress you?
Oh, okay. This is one of my favorite one. I mean, Fernando is the Chardonnay. For me, it's the Pinot Noir, and the way they dealing with this, because it's super clean, and it's also it's juicy, and also the idea that you want to have another glass is always like the back on your mind. Like I wanna keep drinking. So I like it very much.
Yeah, I am a big fan of this wine, Andre. I think it's a good thing you're not wearing socks, because I think they would be across the room if I'm not mistaken. You were pretty impressed by this.
I was. It's really interesting. the mineral note is just screaming on it. Like, it's a very crunchy Pinot Noir. Like, even like from all the Burgundian Pinot Noir that I've been sipping, and frankly, like, even over what we're doing in Niagara with the bench fruit, it's just like that chalky note is just screaming over this wine. But like, that's wonderful. The fruit is very ripe, but not overdone, and the balance of the acid is incredible. Like, this is, geez, I'm honestly at a loss, because like, I'm thinking of where to place Pinot Noir in the world. Like, this tastes, it reminds me a little bit of New Zealand, but not quite. A little bit of Oregon, but not quite.
Yeah, I see where you're going. This has got a lot of its feet in a lot of places. I see where you want to be in New Zealand. I see where you want to be in Burgundy. I see where you want to be in Oregon. I even see where you want to be in Ontario. This is super juicy, super crunchy, super acidic, but without being over the top on any of those levels.
No, the balance is incredible.
For me, this is the 4.5 wine on the table.
I don't do the stars. I don't do points.
No,
I don't do that.
But
But I'm gonna. But I said this is my favorite one. So this is the other thing I would say.
So far your favorite, or you
Yes.
just know this is going to be the best wine that you taste tonight?
I know them already, and I have to tell you, this is gonna be mine. Like,
Are you gonna stop
Yes.
now, or are you gonna try the other two?
of course, I'm gonna try the other two. But
See,
I know.
This is an excellent wine. I'm not as hot on it as the Chardonnay, and this isn't just because I'm Captain Chardonnay. But it is like an easy 4-star wine for me. Like,
this is. See, I love this. I love the back end, the finish. There's everything going on here.
it's just if I have to do the comparison, I think the fruit could be a little denser, and I imagine in a hotter summer, a wine like this would probably pack a little bit more punch, especially with the elevation and the vineyard management. But like, I'm critiquing. I'm not saying anything bad. If this wine showed up at my house as it has, there's not a drop of this that's going in a spittoon. This is excellent wine.
This is mouth filling. Like, even when I put it down the sides of my tongue, I am very happy at that. Nice ripe cranberry, black raspberry. It's just a super wine. Like, they're really. I don't know. I could see why Clemens wants to pour this wine for sure. So, anyway, moving along. Last year, in so many of our interviews, we talked about climate change, how wineries are combating or dealing with it. At Lageder and also in Alto Adige, they seem to have an advantage.
They do.
than they have a deficit. So I also asked about the crew system, because we have talked about single vineyards and crew systems.
Well, just the idea of like wine marketing and setting the expectation for consumers. The fact that despite claims of demise, people aren't stopping drinking. It's just people are drinking less and better. I'm not looking forward to like a crew system coming to Niagara, because, as much as I think, for example, Wismer Foxcroft, which is one of the few vineyards that have south-facing slopes in Niagara, could be considered a Grand Cru vineyard, I just don't want to put a system in place where private owners will get a chance to essentially print money. But I do think identifying sites and marketing them to people so they can get an expectation of what's in the bottle is a good thing. And I think you talked to some people about bringing something like that to Alto Adige?
Well, I did kind of mention it. I wanted to see, if that was something they were looking at, or whether,
I think when we're talking about cutting down, I think there are definitely wines that we want to cut down in the future. We have a large portfolio, and I think it makes sense for us to have 3 Chardonnays, 3 Pinot Noirs, because it's a focus of ours. But it doesn't make sense to have 3 Merlots, 3 Sauvignons. So it's better to have one, a good one, where we put more effort and more quality, rather than exaggerate with that. But I think what's going to be interesting for the future, where we experiment a lot as well in our experimental line, the Comets, is for sure fungus-resistant varieties. The past years have been wet, and we had a lot of trouble in working biodynamic as well in the vineyard. in a way, and so fungus-resistant varieties can become interesting for the future. Alto Adige is already such a diversity that it would be difficult to say we only make Chardonnay in Maigret or in the Maigret surroundings. No, we know that we love to work with 100% dolomitic limestone when we talk about Chardonnay, and Maigret and surroundings has that, which we love to get that beautiful minerality in. I see it a little bit tricky in terms of really putting down those parcels, grape varieties, but never say never, I guess. But I think we're moving a lot, because now in the valley it's getting so hot, because you're surrounded by these mountains. No, Alto Adige in the valley is a very hot region in summertime, so we are actually trying to move up. Yeah, you go 600, 700, 800 meters plus to get this natural freshness now.
So it's time for indigenous grape talk.
That was one of my favorite parts of my trip there.
The indigenous grapes.
Well, I mean, it was just a bit of the history of the region. So Schiava and Lagrein was originally what everyone had planted in Alto Adige. They were pumping out like high yields, low quality. It was their bulk wine. And then when people realized that they could plant the noble varieties, the quality in the region went up. At least this is the story I got while I was there. And, fully keeping in mind that when you go to a region as a journalist, you do get handled. So you're getting a manicured view of what it is you're seeing. But the second part of the story they tell you is that recently winemakers have been trying to premiumize the treatment of the indigenous varieties, the Schiava and the Lagrein. And, I'm really not a huge fan of like the Austrian red varieties. Like, I'm trying to think of like Blaufränkisch.
Yeah.
What are some of the other ones? Lemberger.
Bernachen.
All of these is just like they kind of taste like Baco, right? Like they just have this like they do foxiness to it. But like before I put a bad taste in everyone who's listening's mouth, the Schiava and the Lagrein I tasted in Alto Adige were amazing. They had the rustic tannin, the rustic flavor. They feel like the Italian cousins to well-made Beaujolais. They're wines that made me want food. They're wines that made
great
me want
acidity.
They're wines that made me want tomato-based food. So whether that's my grandmother's cabbage rolls or a spaghetti pomodoro, they were just really well made.
So we are gonna, because Helena and I kind of bonded over Schiava because it's one of her favorite grape varieties as well. We're going to taste two going forward because she was the one who obviously picked these wines. So she sent two. But when I talked to Clement, he did talk Schiava, he did talk Lagrein, but there's an interesting part of Alto Adige history that's lost that they are trying to get back.
Yeah, unfortunately not, but actually it's cool because Canada, there is a little bit of Schiava, so it's a little market. Schiava is always a niche. It's an indigenous grape variety. We had 5 indigenous grape varieties in the 70s, 80s. Today we have still 2 left, so 3 disappeared. The red ones survived in a certain way. One is called Lagrein, very dark-colored, tannic, acidic grape variety. The other one is Schiava. And Schiava is a very medium-bodied, light-colored grape variety, super good to drink a little chilled, very versatile. So great to drink as aperitif because it's always low in alcohol. It's 11.5 degrees of alcohol. But also good to drink with pasta, with pizza, everything tomato-based. So it's a great variety that, it's a very joy. It's an enjoyment to drink it in a certain way, I would say. And it's maybe not a cab where you a meditative grape variety, but it's much more a grape variety that you enjoy drinking.
So what happened to the 3 other indigenous white varieties? They just
people forgot to register them, so you're not allowed anymore to plant them. We still have a little bit of them, but we can't name them as the with their original names. For example, one is called Blatterle, the other one is called Versäulen, third one is called Frauele. And they just disappeared because there are several arguments or thoughts why. Because the problem was that here, or still, farmers are paid, the higher the sugar level, the more they get paid. And that made sense in the 70s when we had a different climate and we had much more grapes on one vine in a certain way. Now, then of course, with a different climate, today the question is always how do we maintain acidity, and not how do we get ripe grapes anymore. No? Yeah. So that's not the sugar level is not the problem anymore. But of course, in the 70s, where all of a sudden people were paid through sugar levels, those three indigenous grape varieties produced low alcohol wines. So of course people lost interest in planting them because they didn't get any, not paid well compared to a Sauvignon or Pinot Grigio, which were producing much higher sugar. And that's why people moved from those indigenous grape varieties to the ones that are ripening differently and creating more sugar and high alcohol in a certain way. So I think now the time could be right with a changing climate and also with a changing market who is demanding low alcohol wines, that these three grape varieties might come back. The only problem is that you need to do research again because they're completely lost. You need to do research, you need to register them again. But there could be a good potential that these grape varieties might come back.
What I found most interesting about that conversation, before we get into this this Schiava, this 2024 Schiava, is that, you know, even the Italians, sorry, Ofelia, even the Italians are learning to move on from bad ideas. You know, selling grapes
based
by
on sugar content.
Correct. And even they've gone, no, we're not doing that anymore. That does not work.
Yeah.
And yet Ontario is still in this stupidity of selling grapes by their sugar.
Well, it's just the fact that there's a government entity, that there's bureaucrats involved in setting the price of grapes is one of the things that's holding our industry back. Frankly, the cost of grapes should be a lot higher than it is in Ontario. You know, maybe put an asterisk by this. We should get the fellas from Grimsby Hillside by to talk about it. We should maybe do a two-parter. We could talk to Irv Wilms about what goes into the vineyard, because the thing is, like with the ADX Wine Company, you know, I've become acutely aware of what it costs to maintain an acre of vineyards. I've talked to the farmers about what it costs, and the thing is, the way I run my business, you know, I want to make sure everyone makes money in the supply chain, or if you're screwing someone in your supply chain, the supply chain is going to collapse.
Correct. It's going to break.
And we have people in Ontario. I'm sure if we talk to Harold Teal, like there's another name drop there, who has committed to planting his vineyards one by one, like they do in Burgundy. Like that's a labor of love, and you're cropping your vineyards down to produce higher quality fruit. When you start charging by sugar, there's no incentive to produce higher quality fruit. The incentive is to push your vineyards as hard as possible, and your grapes could taste like shit. And as long as you get 24, 25, 26 bricks, you get the paycheck.
Yeah.
It's such a dumb way to do agriculture.
And the reason I even apologized to you is because, you know, the Italians are learning where I find, you know, that the Italians are slow to change. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll tell me right now that you're not. You guys are like on the ball. But I find that they're slow to change. But when they change, when they're ready to change, they're like, okay, we're ready to go. And I found that especially when they moved to Slovenian oak, when they moved to larger oak barrels.
To be fair, Alto Adige is a bit of a dark horse in Italian wine regions. Like it doesn't have the pedigree and the history.
Correct, and it's got the German influence.
And that's it. It's just like, even with my giant blind spot in Italian wine, is I know that like we're talking about an industry that sort of put the pedal to the floor of their car in the past like 20 years.
But where they're still under the DOC and DOCG, right? There's still a government entity that comes.
Yeah, no, totally. But like I'm just saying that. I agree with you on what you're saying, is that when it comes to regulation and it involves agriculture, you have to get farmers to agree. And I mean, as much fun as it is to pick on the Italians, Ophelia, I think farmers everywhere are hard to get them to agree.
Now, here's where we have to throw to the Italian,
Yeah.
knowing that the last time we threw to the Italian, she told us that Tignanello was a completely different makeup than we thought it was. So
She was right.
And she was 100% right.
Yeah.
So here we go. So two Canadians talking about Italy, and now we throw to the Italian.
Ta-da! No. No, commenting what you said that we moved to the large barrel. To be sincere, we started with the large barrel and then we moved to the other one and then we went back. Which means that there are a lot of cycle history. You know when you start
the
something.
wine region ruined by Robert Parker.
Yes, exactly. It's like we started with a good thing and then you change the generation and everything goes back. This is one of the things that we might say. And the other thing is that Italy is not one country. We have really many different population. Means that you can find something that is stuck in the past and it's very slow, and something that is really back to the future. For example, if you think about let's talk about Lageder in this moment. The thing that they were able to gather all the producer and work together to a project, it's a thing that generally should do a cooperative. I mean, it's something that is not just one family. It should be like, a village doing this. And they were able to do that. So, for example, they have a wine that is not the tasting for us. Today, it's called the Mistomare. And it's about 300 producer. So they gather people and they share also their wine making possibilities. So it means that they have like, the idea that they can change things and they are in the making in that way. So in this way, they can see, further to the future. In Italy, it doesn't happen that much. So, for example, when you talk about DOC and DOCG, yes, but the point is this: there are not many producers that they might be in a consortium, so they might not agree. So you have like a different kind of labeling, or they decided not to apply. So this is changes as well, So it's like different flows and hubs. How about that?
So that. Okay. That's the last word on the Italian thing. I think that let's go on to the Schiava that we had tasted, the 2024 Schiava.
Yeah, we tasted these in the wrong order, Michael.
Look. I understand. There was a bit of reduction in this one.
A bit.
I think I was the last one. I think I was the one to have the last sip. I think in about half an hour, we're all going to be very happy with that wine.
I'll agree. I'll agree with you on that. It was super reductive, but it is the thing, I think, when we're setting the table and the expectations. So if anyone goes to this podcast and runs out of their house to go buy a bottle of Schiava or Lagrein, expect something with a more rustic flavor profile. The tannins are pointy and a little sharp on the back palate. It's more like tomato stem as part of the flavor profile. It's quite floral, like violet. The fruit's taken the back seat. And I say this with every bit of compliment. Like, this is not meant to be pejorative, but like, these are not elegant wines.
No, this is meant to be that drink now, chill it, enjoy it kind of wine. It's a chugging wine. That's what it's for. Yeah. And look, I will be the first. I like Schiava, and this one is started out as not a favorite and I've tried many vintages of Schiava from Alois Lageder. Yeah, and this one was like, oh, I don't know about that. But as I said, my last sip started to make that, very wide turn. It's like getting on the highway and taking a very slow drive to get onto that highway. And as I said, about half an hour, 45 minutes, I think we're going to be much happier with that wine than we are now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we're going to move on from that. Over the last year, obviously, we saw white wine sales eclipse red wine sales, and that is something not lost on Alois Lageder. So you make, what's the percentage? White wine versus red wine?
70% white wine.
70%. So you're noticing an uptick in white wine sales these days?
Yeah, the
or
interest
pretty much the same? Because
no, the interest in white wine is increasing.
Yeah.
Worldwide, I would say. People talk a lot about sparkling and white wine at the moment. We see that as well. It has a downside because we still produce 30% reds, and it's much more challenge to sell reds nowadays. Absolutely, you can see that the consumer is driven to white wine at the moment, which is super good. But I think there will be also a balance in a certain way. But for example, a market like China was always drinking red wine. Now more women are drinking wine, and they're much more open for white wine. So it's a positive effect on white wines, absolutely.
So Clemens opened the door. He went down the path, and I had to follow it. China, tariffs, the challenges facing the Italian wine industry. This is a longer clip, but it's well worth listening to.
China, the market share of China is from Italian wines is 7%, so not at all important. Actually, it's a niche Italian wines. I think still France is number one. Chile, Australia, New Zealand are extremely strong. Italy was never really strong in China. No, I think the problem what Italian wineries have much more now is the tariff things that is going on now in US now. Yeah. This is, I think, causing much more headache than China would. And we were never that positioned as Bordeaux, for example, in China. That was, Italy had not this positioning in China, so it was not so effective on that.
So obviously you're concerned about the tariffs because obviously U.S. is a large market, and you probably are number one market, or no?
For us, it's a very important market, yes. I think the problem is now we know, okay, it's 20%. I don't know if we know the same, if it's going to be the same in today's. Maybe it's going up. The uncertainty is the problem, I think. Yeah. No. This is a little bit causing, you can't create strategy, you can't plan. You don't have a strategy, And you might have one, and then you have talked to your distributor and your importers, and then a week later you need to rechange everything. The uncertainty is causing a little challenge in a certain way. But of course, what we were able to see in US in the last years, that Pinot Grigio from Italy was very important 10 years ago, and it was decreasing a little bit lately because US producers were producing a lot of Pinot Grigio. So they took shares already in the last years, I think. Of course, now with tariffs, these Pinot Grigio balance will probably change again. For Pinot Grigio, Chianti, Sangiovese, I don't know how strong they are. Chianti is Chianti. Chianti, you can't just replace somewhere else, no. So depending on the wines, I think from Italy, some are going to have harder times, some probably a little easier. Of course, there are possibilities, but I don't think that one-to-one you can replace immediately, and you don't need to replace immediately US. No, let's see what's happening. Yes. This guy wants to make deals. I don't know if they're capable to do deals with the European Union and the US. I have no idea. In general, I think the economy with this threat is shaked up. Not only the wine consumption. I think in general the economy, people don't know what to do. Should I save now? Should I spend? Should I go to a restaurant? Should I not? Should I spend $60 or $100 for wine or not? I think the uncertainty which was created is also created in hands of every consumer. And this, if it's a wine or if it's a car, that's, I think, the challenge.
I'll bet that they're grateful that Alto Adige is still that dark horse of the Italian wine industry. We talked about it on some of the Bordeaux episodes. I think, I wish I had some more sympathy for the Bordeaux producers, but they actively turn their back on their core consumers to chase easy money. Yes. There's the expression, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And the Bordelais are learning that the hard way. And I'm not going to lie, as someone who loves Bordeaux, I hope that when the chips land, that the great producers still make wine. But when those bottles, and I predict that when the dust settles, we're going to be seeing them at least half the price of where they were at their peak. And that's maybe what the market could support. The thing I love about Alto Adige is I'll guarantee you that none of these wines on the table enter this market at more than $100 a bottle.
Oh, for sure. I don't think there's anything. I think it's Mark Anthony that brings the wines in. Yep. I don't think it's even close to that. But yes, we went to Bordeaux, Ophelia and I, basically a year ago when this podcast is out, and we learned so much about how much China screwed Bordeaux, but on the other hand, Bordeaux screwed themselves.
Bordeaux screwed Bordeaux.
Correct, by chasing the Chinese
money.
dollar. And so I turn it over to Ophelia to see get her take on this as well.
Yeah. Okay, but we have a kind of really really big gap between, like, if we talk about the Italian approach and the France approach. For example, we went to them and we asked, okay, so now you have your problem in your ecosystem. So we're talking about the supply chain all over, right? Okay. And what happened? We say, if the market is not working, you don't have any more the negotiant, because, like
that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was like, so the thing was like they took China as a negotiant, like they come in and they take the wine. We are just, so the answer from them is, we can just produce wine. We are not Italians. We're not able to sell it. So if you think about that, and if you think about the market, the producers in Italy, they might have a distributor. Okay. But they also go on fair and they sell their own wines. Yeah. So it's a quite difference between the Italian market and the France market. This is also the reason why we don't sell to just one market. So when Clemens talk about like China, you have to think also how our ecosystem it works, because it's very different from the world ones.
But he said that it's only 7% of their market.
That's the point is not that important.
I mean, trust me, as someone who owns a business, if I lost 7% of my customers overnight,
I think the bigger shot is the U.S., which is a market that they can't.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that, but I don't want to downplay the fact that like 7% is a significant part of the industry, and like, the situation in the United States is it's still just like blows my mind. But I think that in spite of tariffs, I do think the good producers are still going to weather the storm.
I do believe that, and there's
people will be paying a little bit more, and then they will punish the government who made them pay a little bit more, hopefully, at the ballot box next election.
Yeah, if you listen to the full interview that I have with
can't wait
with the Clement, he gets right into it. He talks about how tariffs affect the Italian market even more. So I suggest you head over to Patreon and listen to that, because it really is a very interesting discussion that I have with Clemens. I keep wanting to call him Clement. And the funny part is, I had this discussion with his sister, and I said, I want to because I'm in Italy, I want to put an accent on everything that he does. And she goes, no, it's Clemens. And so it's, you remember that. And she was like, no, it's just Clemens. And, but it look, even he said it's only 7%. So I know you both are saying it's a big part.
No, you can definitely weather this storm,
but Canada's bigger than China. You can probably pick up more sales.
I'm actually surprised about that.
You can pick up more in Canada, and even through the tariffs in the States, than you can through China.
Yeah, but
because China's still interested in Bordeaux if they're interested in wine at all. That's not their own.
But for Italy, Canada is like kind of a closed system. You got a monopole. I mean, if you talk about Canada, Ontario, it's completely different from Quebec.
We are a bad beast.
Yes.
Oh my
so
God.
it's kind of really tough for Italians thinking about the Canadian market.
And
so,
things
even,
things are dire in Ontario as far as I'm concerned. I had a friend. Okay, so we wished everyone a happy New Year, but we're recording this in December. We're gonna peek behind the curtain here. I had a friend of mine call me on his way to Summerhill, which is one of the flagship stores for the LCBO. I'm looking for a full-bodied red that costs between $65 and $95 for my Christmas tradition. You're my wine guy. Help me find something. So I went on the LCBO website. I set my store for 10 Scrivener Square, and I punched out a few countries. I punched in France, $65 to $95 because you can set up a price limit. There were 5 wines to choose.
It's the LCBO is just becoming a shit show.
This is the flagship store.
Yeah, where everything is sold.
And you only have 5 wines between 65 and 95. And even when I changed it, I tried looking at other countries. I tried looking at Italy. No Salaya, no Luce. They had no Luce.
George Saleas should be fired.
George
Today,
Saleas should be fired. That would be an amazing start to the new
find somebody
year.
who knows something about wine and is not sticking his nose in. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. Okay.
But he is.
You know what? Let's talk about. Okay, Michael.
I'm going to end this here. Finally, we're gonna open a bottle of now single vintage Schiava.
I know you're ready. I know you're ready to play the clip, but I've got to quote The Simpsons on this. Do you remember the episode Homer Goes to Bat? Where they put together a company baseball team and Mr. Burns hires all the Major League Baseball players to play on them.
Yes, I remember that. Okay, I did.
Do you remember what Ken Griffey Jr. said?
There's a party in my mouth and everyone's invited.
That's what's happening right now.
So we are opening a bottle of single vineyard Schiava. But first, Helena is going to tell us about her bottles of wine to open at the moment. What's the bottle of wine that you're most proud of that you're going to put down the table and say, this is Lageder?
Schiava. No, I said Schiava before you said, this is Lageder. That's so difficult. I think it's Pora Pinot Grigio, because Pora shows a variety that suffers with climate change, but as well looked at from a very different approach. You can see, okay, traditional grape variety meets joy of experimentation, meets our approach in the cellar, which is, of course, we're not the smallest winery, but we look at a wine in regards to being in different components. Is it the right terroir? Is it the right, do we bring something together, parcel harvesting? So it's every wine is looked into detail.
So here we have the 2022. Again, I can never get these because you know what? As I said, they're a cross between German and Italian, and this is definitely German. It's the 2022 Romingberg Schiava, and the first thing you notice when it goes into your glass, it's cloudy as hell.
This is one of the things I hate about the traditional tasting grid is the whole idea of having to judge based on color, because I don't give a crap. This wine could be fluorescent neon,
I agree.
Fluorescent neon green for all I care. The nose has the intensity I was hoping the Pinot would have. The palate tastes exactly what I remember the amazing Schiava on my trip to have. This is this is a party. This is a party in a glass.
But this is that 2022 vintage, and it seems that everybody liked the 2022 vintage, top to bottom in Italy, as far as I can tell. 2022 was a good vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at the really great wines that they sent. The Lowengang Chardonnay 2022, the Krafus Pinot Noir 2022, the Romenberg Schiava 2022, and they sent the other Schiava,
the Vernach Schiava, which we weren't so hot on,
and we're hoping it gets better. But I mean, 2022, a really great vintage. I think this is a lovely wine. This is exactly what I want in Schiava.
Yeah,
the acidity is there. It does have a Pinot-esque quality to it.
I would say it's Gamay-esque.
I would think it's a cross. Like, if you had asked me, if you had put this in front of me, I would have said, is this...
I've got
is this a Pasteur Grey?
I've got it. This is what happens if Beaujolais and Sangiovese have a beautiful, kind of Italian, kind of German baby. There we go. That's what's in our glass.
Wow, that's interesting.
Do you have anything Italian to say about that?
No, but it's really interesting. It's a kind of, open vision to that.
I mean, it's got the rusticness, but it's really savory. It's got the tomato stem, so that's more Sangiovese than it is. But then the
acidity is there, which is very Sangiovese.
Also Gamay.
It's got that lively fruit, but it's more cranberry, sour cherry.
But also violet.
And there's
violet, which is quite Sangiovese.
So there's so much going on in this glass. And that it's cloudy and, as you said, unfiltered, all that stuff that happens.
So, wow. To the previous comment that we made before we cut ourselves off, and I'm going to make sure we don't go down the rabbit hole. It's too bad we don't see more of these wines on the shelves of our local purveyor of fine bottles of wine. It's just another testament to the fact that the LCBO is not serving wine enthusiasts anymore. And it sucks that with the system as it exists right now that we have to order it by the case if we want it on consignment. That being said, find some friends. Even if you get 6 friends, take 2 bottles each. Yeah. These wines are every single one of them worth seeking out.
I would go crazy for the Krafis. You would go crazy for the Lowengang. So those are our 2 favorite. Ofelia, where do you sit?
The Pinot.
The Pinot, so the Krafis.
Yeah,
we have 2 votes for Krafis, 1 vote for Chardonnay. That should surprise no one.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank Mark Anthony for helping us get these wines in, because anybody who's tried to get wines into Ontario, it's a nightmare. So thank you very much to Mark Anthony. Thank you very, very much to Alois Lageder for inviting Ofelia and I to Summa. I'm hoping to get back this year. Andre, you've got to come to Summa.
I want to go back.
I have an in. I can get you in. So let's see.
Oh.
I hope.
I got to get on a plane.
Now that I've said that, they probably closed the gate.
So Spencer turns 3 in January. Ophelia, that's the drinking age in Italy, right?
Yeah.
No, it's like 2. It's like...
Can.
Vini da Bambino.
Yes.
Yes. And that's available in the store on the bottom shelf so they can pick it up. So, a very special, again, thank you, and I love you both, Helena and Clement, for their time. You were
very lovely.
Very generous.
Yeah.
Both the interviews with them are almost a half hour long. Ofelia, thank you for joining us. How do people find you?
On Instagram, like Ofelia Biancaneve.
Okay, so
we'll put a link
Snow
to
White.
Show notes.
Yeah.
And a reminder about Patreon.
That's your 4th Patreon mention. Something like we really want people to support us this year.
I see all these people, plugging their Patreons, getting subscribers. We have got great stuff behind that paywall.
We also have a great audience.
We have a great audience. So, we have in-depth interviews. Especially on this one, if you do subscribe, you're going to hear in depth about Lagrein, low alcohol wines, and Ofelia had mentioned the Misto Mare project. She goes in depth with Helena about that. Andre Prue
at Andre Wine Review on social media. This year, I am going to actively be posting more. I know. All the teasing about Chardonnay aside, I'm going to try to post a Chardonnay a week every week for this year, assuming I can find 52 good Chardonnays to post about.
That means you're going to take 52 baths. I know it. I'm Michael Pinkus of michaelpincuswinereview.com. You can find me on social media, mostly as the Grape Guy. And thank you to everyone who is part of this podcast. Good night.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to 2 Guys Talking Wine on iTunes.
2 Guys Talking Wine is produced by Adam Duran and Ken Little.